Damage to Florida's Gulf Coast early Wednesday as the storm brought strong winds, rain and dangerous flooding to the streets from Tampa to Tallahassee. Around 4:50 p.m. local time, Idalia was downgraded to a tropical storm, according to the National Hurricane Center. Two people, a 59-year-old Gainesville man and a 40-year-old Spring Hill man, were killed Wednesday when they lost control of their vehicles while out driving during the storm, the Florida Highway Patrol said in a news release. When the storm made landfall, at around 7:45 a.m. Eastern Time, it was a Category 3 hurricane, according to the National Hurricane Center, packing catastrophic storm surge and damaging winds. Around 10 a.m. local time, it weakened to a Category 2 storm before further weakening to a Category 1 hurricane around noon. In a 12:30 p.m. press conference, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the eye of the storm had left Florida, but storm surge was expected to continue and worsen as the tide rose later in the day. In Cedar Key, an island city of just about 700 people, storm surge poured through the streets. The area was under a mandatory evacuation order. The city's fire department shared a video that showed water rushing through dark streets as more rain poured down. The department said that things were going downhill fast and noted that the power is out in the area. In a second video, the department said the tide is expected to keep coming in until noon, and said that most of the streets around the downtown are underwater. The strength of the storm is keeping first responders from seeing how bad things are. A later video showed downed trees and rushing water, and photos show further destruction. Two videos posted by a man in Cedar Key showed water coming down side streets at around 5 a.m. local time. "It's going to swallow up the whole town," said Michael Presley Bobbitt. Later photos and videos from Bobbitt showed scattered debris, downed tree branches and water continuing to travel down side streets. Bobbitt said in the caption that the water had reached his backyard. "Our entire downtown is submerged, houses everywhere are submerged." Photos showed floodwaters filling the streets in Tarpon Springs, just north of Clearwater, up the coast from Tampa Bay. In Clearwater, another area that had been under mandatory evacuation, officials said the storm surge was causing strain on the city's stormwater system. Residents who did not evacuate were told to restrict water and toilet usage. In St. Petersburg, police said they had to rescue a person from flooding at a mobile home park. A video shared by the department shows water reaching the hood of a car in the coastal city. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office said overnight that there had been about 3 to 4 feet of flooding on a street of St. Pete Beach, another coastal city. A video taken in Newport Richey, a city in Florida's Pasco County, shows cars driving through water that reaches their headlights. The person who took the video said it was taken about 1.5 miles inland, and at low tide. High tide is expected in the area in the early afternoon. Treasure Island, a city located on a barrier island in the Gulf of Mexico, has closed its bridges and will not be accessible for hours, officials said on social media. Significant flooding was expected, and photos showed water reaching park benches. The Tampa International Airport showed flooding and empty tarmac. In a statement, the airport said that there was water on the south end of the airfield, but that runways were not impacted. The airport did well in face of the storm, the statement said. The airport is expected to reopen to arrivals at around 4 p.m. today. Other airports in the hurricane's path had also closed due to the weather. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Thursday said Hurricane Idalia caused significant damage particularly along Florida's Big Bend, but the community is resilient. "We are going to work hard to make sure people get what they need," the governor said at a post-storm briefing alongside state and federal emergency management agency, FEMA, officials. According to DeSantis, about 420,000 accounts that lost power during the storm have been restored, and the bulk of the outages at this point are in that Big Bend region, a lot of the rural counties that bore the brunt of the storm. About 141,000 customers remain without power across the state, according to poweroutage.us. DeSantis noted that some areas, such as parts of Taylor County in the Big Bend area, remain 100% out. The governor added that there were about 40 successful rescues made as of last night. This includes 29 by the Florida National Guard. Our fish and wildlife officers assisted with a medical evacuation yesterday, and they are conducting high water and welfare checks, he said. DeSantis said he and FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell will tour some of the hard-hit areas like Cedar Key and Steinhatchee to assess storm damage. Tens of thousands of people in northern Florida without power after Idalia will have to suffer through sweltering summertime heat. High temperatures across this hard-hit area are expected to climb into the lower 90s on Thursday afternoon. These temperatures are typical for late August, but Idalia's rain is causing the heat index, a measure of what the temperature feels like on the skin when accounting for relative humidity, to soar. The heat index for a majority of locations without power in Florida and Georgia will top out in the low to middle 100s on Thursday. A heat index value in the triple digits can be dangerous for anyone without access to power or a reliable way to cool down. Taking breaks during Idalia cleanup efforts and staying hydrated are important ways to prevent heat-related illness. Federal Emergency Management Agency Administrator Deanne Criswell said the biggest priorities on Thursday include restoring power and cleaning up debris as Idalia moves off the coast of the Carolinas. Today the focus is to make sure that we've accounted for everybody and there is nobody still stranded in any of these communities, and begin to start to restore that power. The next part will be to start removing the debris, making sure we can have access into the communities, she told local media. Florida has brought in 30,000 to 40,000 linemen to work on restoring power, Criswell said, and the Army Corps of Engineers is on standby to help with installing generators. According to poweroutage.us, as of 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time, there are about 145,000 customers without power in Florida, about 107,000 out in Georgia, and 33,000 and 23,000 out in North Carolina and South Carolina, respectively. President Joe Biden approved an emergency declaration for the state of South Carolina due to Hurricane Idalia. Areas of the state, including in Charleston, have experienced severe flooding. The president's action authorizes the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to coordinate all disaster relief efforts aimed at alleviating the hardship and suffering caused by the emergency on the local population, and to provide appropriate assistance when necessary. Emergency measures, authorized under Title V of the Stafford Act to save lives and protect property and public health and safety, and to reduce or prevent the threat of disaster. Tropical Storm Idalia moved into South Carolina on Wednesday night after making landfall along Florida's Gulf Coast as a powerful Category 3 hurricane earlier in the day.